If you think your swim technique is pretty solid, these paddles might prove otherwise. They certainly did for me, and the results were not what I expected. So I bought these purple Ocean hand paddles completely on a whim. I was ordering some bike parts online when I saw them pop up as an optional extra at the checkout. And because I'm always looking for ways to improve my swimming, especially while training for a triathlon, I added them to the basket. So what exactly are they? Well, Ocean hand paddles are technique-focused swim paddles designed to improve the mechanics of your freestyle stroke. They're light, curved, and most noticeably of all, they have no straps at all, so nothing holds them to your hands. If your technique is even slightly off, they start falling off while you're swimming. They're a bit like the old Finnish freestyler paddles in that sense, but with a more modern shape and a few additional features. They're also reasonably affordable, £38 in the UK here, which works out to roughly $50 US, depending on where you live. At the time of filming this, I've used them in around 10 swim sessions. And the very first thing you learn is this. Without straps holding them to your hands, you can't fake good technique. If you try to muscle through with poor form, the paddles simply start falling off. And that's exactly what happened to me, but only on one side. So my right hand felt great, no problems at all, but my left hand, the paddle kept falling off. Not once, but over and over again. It happened in two very specific places. I'll try and show you. So during the catch right at the front of the stroke, that's where the paddle started falling off from my left hand. And then during the push through at the end, as my paddle was getting nearer my hip. And this was a genuine wake-up call. I'd always assumed my left arm was working just as well as my right arm. Clearly not. And this is exactly the kind of feedback you just don't get from traditional paddles with straps, because those paddles stay on even when your technique falls apart. Over the next 5 or 6 swims, I used the Ocean paddles during my warm-ups, warm-downs, and occasionally for easier sections in the middle of my workouts. They don't give you the same paddle power sensation that you get from big strength paddles. They don't put extra stress on your shoulders or make you dramatically faster just by wearing them. They're more of a technique tool. Gradually, I figured out exactly why my left paddle was falling off, and once I understood the faults I was making, I corrected them. The first issue was the catch. I wasn't getting my hand down and the forearm into a strong catch position quickly enough, and that little hesitation was enough for the paddle to slip away. Once I fixed that, it stayed on. The second issue was alignment at the back of the stroke. My wrist and forearm were at a slightly awkward angle during the push through and early recovery, and tidying that up made a big difference, and now the paddle doesn't come off unless I lapse back into old habits. And honestly, I've already noticed a small improvement in my lap times in the pool. Nothing dramatic, but enough to feel. And even more importantly, I can feel the water better. The pull feels more connected and the push through feels like it's generating more speed. If you're following one of my triathlon training plans on MyProCoach, you'll know we include structured swim sessions and video demonstrations of drills, so you can slot technique tools like this straight into your routine. Using these paddles made me even more aware of the subtle corrections we're always encouraging athletes to work on. So these hand paddles have several features, and one is the finger and thumb dividers. So the thumb divider is fixed and these float. So they're kind of soft and floating, and they encourage a consistent spacing between your fingers. I didn't feel a huge difference from this personally. Maybe I already had a decent finger position. But if you tend to spread your fingers or collapse your thumb, you might notice a clearer benefit from this. The curved design, on the other hand, was more noticeable when I swam. It encouraged me to enter the water with my fingers angled slightly down, wrist above hand, elbow above the wrist, basically the high elbow catch that elite swimmers use. It doesn't force you into that position, but it naturally guides you there, which I really liked. Everyone has different weaknesses in their stroke, so you might have a totally different experience to me. But one thing I genuinely believe is that to get the most from these kinds of hand paddles, you need to swim at least 3 times per week, especially initially. That way you don't lose the feel from one session to the next. You can apply the corrections more consistently over time. As I mentioned earlier, the paddles cost £38 in the UK, roughly $50 US, and you can find them from many major online swim shops, triathlon retailers, and even Amazon in some countries. and for what they offer, I think the value is solid. So should you buy them? Well, if you're a triathlete or a recreational swimmer who genuinely wants to improve your technique, I think these paddles are worth a try. They give you instant, honest feedback. They highlight faults you might not know you have, and for me, they've genuinely helped me tidy up part of my stroke. If you've tried these, or if you've found another training tool that's helped you, do let me know in the comments section. I'd love to hear what worked for you. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more triathlon training tips. And for your next step, check out the video on screen now or dive into our full swimming playlist. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.